How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. So today, we got us an interesting topic. We're going to be sitting over here chit-chatting about divorce and the financial ins and outs of it. Now, I understand that we had a question about this back before, where one of our fans had asked us an interesting question, like who actually benefits from divorce, because the conversation that we had started about how females benefit from divorce more than males benefit from divorce. And well, really, men do not benefit from divorce, but the comment came out that men actually do get rich off of divorce the way women get rich off of divorce. And I stand on the principle of no, it doesn't. Not that that's not a thing. However, um, as you guys can see, that we got the format a little bit shifted up. And before we get started, I want you guys to make sure that you like and subscribe. Follow if you're on Twitter, follow if you're on Twitch, follow if you're on TikTok. If you're on TikTok, you can see that down below we're trying to reach a goal. And actually, because we're inverted, it's over here. We're trying to reach this goal. And also, if you hit that subscription button over there, it'll take you to the wow, I should put this in portrait. I didn't even think about that. I'm gonna have to do that next time. It'll take you over to YouTube, where you can subscribe over there and then come back to TikTok so that you get those push notifications on your phone, let you know that we're going live on the show. I strongly encourage you guys to get all the information you can from the YouTube side of things, because YouTube will keep you updated as to the progression of the show, as we've got uh, uh, calendar fill-ins for the full month of November. We have the majority of November mapped out, and as we fill in those blanks, you'll notice that those new shows will be identified on YouTube first. But we are live 7 days a week, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific. So I felt like it'd be a good idea to tell you guys, hey, come on over and come and see what we got going on. The rest of you guys that are on YouTube, you guys have the ability to apparently join a member, not join a membership, but get the invite to come in. If you guys click the invite button to come in, you'll be able to chill with us, and also have that opportunity to look at that. Got the comment section off to the side. You guys are also able to join if you're over the age of 18. Approve the camera, approve the mic, and then if you do so, it brings you up onto the show, and we'll be able to have open forum discussions. Now, I'm a tad bit early in comparison to my normal trend and behavior, but we're supposed to kick off the show about 15 minutes ago, and sometimes I kick off the show about 15 minutes from now. Either way it goes. Let's get this party started. So, when I talk about stats on this show, doesn't matter what it's about. Business, politics, real estate, doesn't really matter what it's about. When I start talking about stats on the show, I have done my digging before I start talking about trying to put my foot in my mouth and tell you guys something that may not be as accurate as some people claim. Like, for example, on TikTok, we have one of the fans that thought that he was going to be smart and tell me that when I was explaining the way tax deductions work for businesses, he explained to me, or he tried to make the claim. He didn't explain it. He tried to make the claim that that's not how taxes works. And I thought that was funny. Today we're talking about divorce, but that day we were talking about taxes. And if he's on the show now, since he made that comment, I think yesterday or the day before that, now I have an open challenge to him. Like, can you prove to me that that's not how that works? Because today I'm going to be telling you guys about what's going on with the statistics about divorce, and how often men actually get a financial payout from divorce, so that you can understand that more often than not, men do not benefit from divorce. Men, ironically, don't marry women that are richer than them more often than not, which means that they're typically in the higher pay scale when the divorce occurs. And usually, because divorce is a gender neutral situation, that whoever makes the more money pays the person with the lesser money some dividends after the divorce. That's typically how these things go. But I'm going to get into that in a minute. I want to talk to you guys about this tax situation real quick. Your boy tells me because I claim that if in the event that you're developing a certain quantity of revenue in your business, and for some reason you decide that you're going to buy certain things, so depending on what it is for your business, that certain things that you buy actually become tax deductions. And some things like vehicles are 100% tax deductible inside of the first year that you buy the vehicle, as long as you buy the vehicle inside of the tax year of the revenue received. That was the conversation that we had. Now, I explained that if you had upcoming $100,000 worth of tax deductions that you knew you were going to have to swing, and you decided to buy $100,000 worth of commercial vehicles, and this is typically what they consider commercial vehicles are vehicles that are upward of, I think, 6,000 or more pounds, like 6-ton vehicles, not the half tons. So it's usually like trucks and SUVs that qualify for this. But you also notice that depending on the weight of the vehicle and the fact that the vehicle is supposed to be used for 100% of work-related stuff, that vehicle being utilized for 100% of work-related stuff is a tax deduction. So you notice that some of those blue chip businesses have company cars, their Mercedes, BMWs that they give to their employees for their employees to get around for the business. Those are company cars owned by the company. When those cars were purchased at a deduction from the cost of taxes owed from the business's profits. So if they buy $100,000 worth of vehicles that qualify for the tax deduction, the first year you get the qualification of 100% deductions on vehicles that are bought for commercial use. Now, person tells me that's wrong. I don't know why they would lie to the world on my podcast that that's wrong. When I made over $200,000 one year and bought 2 Dodge Ram 1500s, and that totaled almost $60,000. I had about $63,000 worth of tax deductions on the $63,000 worth of taxes that I had, and then I still had other stuff that I had bought that year. But you only get deductions down to zero. You don't get deductions down to a negative value. You don't get enough tax deductions where you earn for the lack of better identifications, tax credits. You never earn tax credits from tax deductions. There's a difference between tax credits and tax deductions. Tax deductions means you don't owe Uncle Sam as much. Credit means that you're entitled to cash compensation for that value. There's a big difference. So earned income credit means that this money is yours if you don't owe Uncle Sam this amount of money. Stimulus credits, that's a money that is you're entitled to if it doesn't go towards your tax stuff. Your health insurance credits, that goes towards your health insurance. But those credits, you don't get that because those credits are specifically to pay for health insurance to offset the tax law that makes it illegal for you not to have credits. That's what that was about. But the fact of the matter is that a deduction is a deduction. That means that it's a reduction, and a reduction from whatever value only goes down to zero. A reduction does not go from a whatever value down to a negative where you're entitled to money. Tax deductions and tax credits do not work like student refund money, where you borrow more than what you need and whatever the school doesn't use they give to you. That's not how taxes works. So when this guy was telling me that, I was like, please explain to me how taxes work for you, because you're telling me something that's not correct. And I mean, I've done my research on this. I even had the CPA on here a couple weeks ago, Joe, who sat up here for 2 hours and 30 minutes, and we talked about everything under the sun, including taxes. So I can't believe that my CPA would tell me that. And Joe, if you guys want information on Joe's a CPA, because we're up on the end of the tax season, if you guys aren't paying quarterly in Q4, you're going to be paying annually come the upcoming year. Get you a spot with Joe. I got you some information. They got some links to Joe on some of our shows, but if you go to the podcast on YouTube, and you'll see it. Now, Joe explains to us what's going on with taxes, and he's helped people save up to, if not more than, $10,000 on taxes owed to the government, and make sure that any entitlements to earned income credits or any other tax credits that are available to the individual can be sought and acquired. without having any fears of being audited. Now, since Joe was able to knock you guys out, and I had Joe on the show, and we're talking about these things and we're going over this information, I'm more than sure that I wasn't wrong when I was saying it. So correct me if I'm wrong. You guys can comment in the comment section, let me know what's up, or you could throw something in on the back end, or you could tag your friend, share it with somebody who knows so that they could come and argue with me. I have no problem. I love debates, but this is an open-minded, open forum podcast. So if you guys got something that y'all want to talk about, we could talk about it. But today we were supposed to be talking about those divorces, because I know that y'all see on these podcasts a lot where people are telling you, hey, men do not benefit from divorces. We had somebody jump up on a podcast before, and that person told us, well, men do get money from divorces. And I was asked to prove myself right. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to do some research. I'm going to schedule a show, and we're going to do that show. That's what today is about. So today we're about to be talking about who all gets what from the divorce when the divorce goes down. And this is a non-biased research project that I did, but I'm going to still deliver it from a man's perspective, because I'm going to tell you something, fellas, we definitely do not benefit. And this is one of the reasons why I tell you guys on a podcast on a regular basis that even from the girlfriend area of the relationship, you should probably start contracting out accessibility to your resources, where she is known by agreed upon mutual contract signing that she is only accessing certain quantities of assets and resources, and she is relinquishing access to those resources upon the separation of the two of you. And that, starting off in the dating phase, puts you guys in a confident position that when you get ready for marriage, there's a prenup there, because everything in America is transactional. Dating is transactional. Friendships are transactional. The friendship between a man and a woman now is ironically a transactional friendship that is a subset of being rejected from the initial relationship track. It's not actually we grew up as friends and now we started to become lovers and then we end up marrying our best friend. That doesn't happen anymore. That stopped happening in the 70s and 80s. Now we find you, we get your social media details because you don't feel comfortable with giving us your real name or your real phone number. Then we have to follow you, and then we have to try to set something up. What's going on? What's going on? I forgot to tell you guys, we got everybody here on Twitch. We got some more folks over here on TikTok. We should have some people jumping in on Twitter as well, trying out a new format, because we usually do a 16:9 format. But some of the changes that's happened on YouTube recently, my camera is not, no, it's not supposed to be great. It's not supposed to be great. You want my camera to be 1080p. My camera is not going to be 1080p. It's if you see that right there, hold on, let me do it right here. Bam. You see that right there at the top of the screen? That says that I'm rocking off of 1 to 3 bars. I'm not even knocking off on 5G. The area I'm in, I was talking to you guys about the internet service they have in this area. We're on the north side of the state, and where we're at, where we're at, out of 5 towers, 3 or 4 of them are down more often than not. So the 3 towers closest to my location pinging an off signal. So every now and again, I lose signal where I'm at. But we're going to be relocating the podcast to a different location that's going to have an abundance of network. That's when we're going to start having the high 1080p, like fast, expert 60 frames per second and all this other fancy stuff. I had to downgrade everything to operate on the low bandwidth in the area that I'm in. That's what people have to do. He said he would divorce. So opinion on Hatsune Mika. I'd never divorce her, to be honest, unless you convince me to, I guess. Well, men do not divorce women by choice. Usually we divorce women when we are really, really tired of the drama. That's when we divorce the women. We divorce them when they cheat on us, because like a woman's infidelity is way worse than a man's infidelity from the perspective of men. Now that's from the perspective of men. So women may not agree with that. Women might believe that cheating is the worst thing in the world, since, going against the Bible. But you have to understand that from the man's perspective, a woman cheating on a man, you can't do anything worse to a man, because that's the only sacred thing you have. The man's stuff goes to the woman, and I mean, that's pretty much it. But when you're looking at the fact that Men play for keeps. And when I say that men are loyal, women disagree and say that men are not loyal because men like to have multiple women. And that is a misconception. It's not that men are not loyal because they like to have multiple women. They always come back to you. A man will I know I had one woman say women are not like Pokemon cards, but if men were Pokemon trainers, women would be Pokemon cards. They would keep collecting them and never let them go. They're not letting them go. That's the dedication. They're like dogs. That's why they call men dogs. They always stick with the ones that they add to their pack. They're not trying to get her, drop her, get another one, drop them. The women are the ones that are walking away. 70 to 90% of the time, the women are the ones that are walking away. And since the women are the ones that are walking away, they're more often than not going to be the ones that is not satisfied with their expectations of how they believe the relationship should be run, regardless of whether or not she's putting in the effort to see the results that she's looking for, which is a whole lot different than men who come into the relationship and recognize that he has to put in work to see the results that he's looking for, hoping that his partner will put in the same quantity of work to get the same expectations of success out of the same relationship. Now, hold on, we got a lot of comments in here, so you guys make sure everybody can comment in here because I got everybody except for TikTok all on the same side. TikTok is a little bit iffy since they're supposed to be getting dropped by the U.S. government. 10 states have already banned them, and I'm not in one of those 10 states, but I'm not really trying to invest in a platform that may not be here in 2 months. So let's go on. We got a couple more comments, and then I'm gonna start telling y'all who has what to lose in divorce. He's telling me about this chick. She's got everything, so I'm gonna steal half of her stuff. Hashtag winning. That's it. She's rich. You don't got no money. You get married to her. I do believe it takes about 30 days or so. And then after that, once the idea of annulment has passed and y'all have already consummated the marriage, then the divorce is a thing. If you guys haven't consummated the marriage, you guys haven't been together long enough, you have an annulment. And annulment means that y'all just like stopped before you got started, which is almost like forfeiting before the match started. But once it's officially considered the match started, that's when y'all start getting hit with divorce. So in that idea, yes, if a man married a rich woman like Ken was to marry Barbie from our dollhouse days back in the day when our sisters had stuff, we had GI Joes, she had Barbie dream houses, we had Castle's Gray Skull, she's got the boat and the yacht, we've got the Enterprise, you know what I'm saying? Different stuff. Fact is, in that ideology, the woman had everything, the man had nothing but some shorts and a surfboard. And sometimes he didn't even come with the surfboard. Now, in those types of relationships, if a woman divorced a man, the man would get some of that stuff, if not half of that stuff. But more often than not, in reality, women do not go after men who are broke. So the fictitious, and it's weird because everything else can be blamed on like toys and video games and everything like that, but a woman's mindset can't be blamed on the dolls that she had when she was growing up. When she was growing up, the women were successful, the men were bums, the women had all the stuff, the men had nothing. All of her whole family came together, and the man was in the military. So it was her cousin, her niece, her daughter. Ken was just out there by himself, and she had it all, right? The dream. She had it all. Nobody talks about where she gets it from, but she had it all. But notice there were multiple different kids. Enough divorces, you'll get it all. We had a couple podcasts that talked about how true story. He says, ethical question. Would you have with a Pokemon? Well, those people that are into bestiality might actually consider something like that. But I mean, if you've seen anything about Play World, these animals are reckless with these AK-47. So I don't see myself going that route. I would have my Pokemon like children or like a sweatshop, like Play World. Either way it goes, I'm benefiting from them, just not in that way. I'm just saying. It's not an animal, it's a monster. So, bro, the beast in that explanation is exactly that. So, I mean, I don't know what you're trying to get at there, but it is actually that. Now, real quick, diving into the ideologies. Now, some men have been pointing out on some of the male-driven podcasts that the majority of women in the world that are financially successful, that are billionaires, with the exception of one woman who got her money from unlawful activities, all the rest of them actually became millionaires or billionaires because they married a millionaire or billionaire and then divorced that person. And that's how they ended up with their millions. Some of them actually married their millionaire husband, where they may not have been millionaires when they got married, but they married him. The man became a millionaire. And then when the man died, like Kobe Bryant, his wife is now a millionaire. She might have not have been a millionaire when she met him, but she's a millionaire now that he's gone. When we look at historically, and I'm about to go into these details, that historically, back in the 1900s, the early 1900s, women didn't have assets. Women stayed with their parents until they married their husband. There are very few single women out there. There were single women out there, but there were very few single women out there before World War I and before the Civil War. So there were very few single women out there working in all the businesses, and they were doing the clerical stuff, all of the assistant stuff, home ec outside of the house kind of stuff. Now, after World War I, when women started taking over the workforce in the industrial industry, that's when women started leaving the house and making money and coming back to the house and burning bras and this, that, and the third. So when these laws first started being created back in the 30s and 40s and 20s and the 1800s, the late 1800s, women were one step away from being property, where one man would talk to another man and say, hey, I'll give you a dowry for this woman, arranged marriage, and that would work itself out. Now, it changed over the years, and then they outlawed arranged marriages, which actually nowadays arranged marriages would still be able to be a thing if it is voluntary, where you and the other person, is called a contractual marriage, still an arrangement. You two both agree to it, though. And in the past, the bride was forced into a wedding that she had no choice in, and that's the difference between an arranged marriage and a shotgun wedding. A shotgun wedding where the woman got pregnant and the groom was forced to marry the bride at gunpoint to prevent from having any bastard children. Now, that's a massive change in comparison to before with, oh, I'll give you money for this one. And that all changed because now you think about how the dowry was kind of redesigned into what we have now as the man paying for the wedding and the honeymoon and all this other stuff. That used to come from the father of the groom or the father of the bride, where either the person who wanted the wife would pay the family to get the child, or the person who's trying to get rid of the child would pay the other person to take the child, take this debt off of my hands kind of stuff, where the wedding was supposed to be paid by the family, not by the bride and groom. It was supposed to be the responsibility of somebody's mama and daddy that was supposed to be taking care of this. But nowadays, because we don't even go back to the house to show our parents respect nowadays, you're not going back to the house and saying, do I have your blessing and do I have your permission to marry your child? That doesn't happen. So the old folks is just getting an invitation like it's going to a house party. I already said a few times on the podcast, why are we spending so much money to go $100, $200, $300,000 to invite a bunch of people to show off that we made money? Why are we not the ring $10,000, $20,000, $30,000? That's like a Bitcoin. Why not go and invest that money in stock? I said before that the money that you're spending on the wedding ring, when the wedding ring is going to be worth 1/3 the price it was when you got it out of the store. And if the store goes out of business before you try to sell the ring, you can't even go back to the manufacturer and try to get as much of a top dollar off the ring as you would have gotten from somebody else. Then you end up bringing a ring to a pawn shop, and a pawn shop is going to give you less than half of what it's sellable for at its current age and usage. And that means that you're not even getting the 25 or 10%. If it's worth 25%, he's going to offer you 10 to 15% because he's going to keep the difference. So your $35,000 ring, you might get 5 or 10 grand from it in 5 or 10 years. But $35,000 of Bitcoin could get you $75,000 inside of a year. So I'm trying to figure out, why are we wasting money on this stuff? You could turn around and put all of your money into like the wedding. The wedding's $100 grand, $200 grand. Oh, we're gonna rent this venue. The venue is rich because 20 people rent the venue. They made $2 million. But you look at the fact that you just spent $100 grand or $200 grand to impress your friends. You're impressing a bunch of people who did not invest in the two of you coming together. You didn't even have the courage to tell them about your relationship when it first started happening. They did not keep you guys together, and they're not going to keep your marriage together after y'all stay together. So you cannot guarantee that the $100 grand that you're spending on the 50 to 100, 200 people that you're inviting to your wedding is going to actually help you keep your wedding 40 years in the making. you're not going to be able to have a village keep the marriage together kind of thing. And then come to find out after the wedding that you didn't knock off somebody else's wife and now with some other stuff. Hold on a second. He said thoughts on Feeny Korea Hyper. No, we're not putting that up there, buddy. We can't talk about that. I think the Pokemon thing is very interesting. He said, I think the Pokemon thing is very interesting, like same or more intelligent than us. That's a good assessment, Dink. But when we were talking about that, we were like, look, you know, the fact is that you could, instead of a one-time thing where the woman is going to be valued for probably 1 to 2 days, 3 days, and I'm like 1 or 2 days primarily because you're going to have the reception, you're going to have the wedding on the same day, you might have rehearsal the day before, and that's probably the only 2 days out of the week where she gets everybody's undivided attention. You might have 3 days. I would say a week at the most, because up until the wedding, everybody who finds out about it for the first time is going to congratulate you. Everybody's going to congratulate you at the wedding. The 2 most important days of your life is going to be the day of and the day after, because after that, everybody who didn't go to the wedding is going to congratulate you, but everybody's only going to congratulate you once. So after they finish congratulating you, that's pretty much it. Dude's typing loud as a speaker. Who's typing? Who's typing? I'm not hearing any typing. He says that somebody's typing. Which one of y'all are typing in a text message that is overkill? I'm connected to your home internet. Yo, your home internet, that means that his keys in the other side of the house are making a lot of noise. You need to go put some WD-40. No, don't do that, because that'll mess up the motherboard. It's like it's like a paragraph for too long. Now, people sit on their cell phones and they can actually do that with 2 thumbs and just type up a storm, right? They can just type up a storm. I think that's very interesting that they're able to clickety clack clack, clickety clack 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 clack. So that's really crazy. And what he said, dude's probably getting he's probably getting a divorce right now. He might be. He might be. But let me get into some of this. Let me get into some of this real quick. I want you guys, make sure that you guys like and subscribe and follow if you haven't already. Most of the states are going to follow either the community property or equitable distribution model. And what that's going to mean is that they're going to do a 50-50 split of everything that everybody has access to. And that's what happens, which is why we say that men are going to lose half of their stuff, because when a woman walks into the relationship, she's not bringing a house, 2 cars, a house full of furniture most of the time. Not saying that not all women do it. Some women do come with their own stuff. They got their own apartment, they got their own house, they might have their own car or whatever. And some women might dissolve their lease and move in with the husband. Some might let the husband dissolve his lease, move in with the woman, because you guys kind of collaborate with one another. But when it starts talking about ownership, because more often than not, men keep stuff, women use stuff. And I'm not talking about people, but yeah, that does apply to people as well. The fact is that if a woman and a man met one another, a man would have a $50,000 worth of savings and a woman would have $10,000 worth of savings. We had some fans come up on the show and talked about that when he was trying to remodel his house so he could sell it, so he could buy her a house on the beach and let her keep her house. That was funny as hell. And she was mad because he was putting up $100,000 to fix the house, to sell the house, so that he could take almost $700,000 and go buy her a beachfront house. And all she had to do was put up $10,000. She was mad. She wanted her name on the deed of the current house before he sold it, so that she'll take. And I'm looking at her like, what are they talking about? And that, I thought that was pretty hilarious. He got more going on. He's like, dude's probably, here it is. It's just say we both signed for a new sofa for the house and now we're divorcing. who should get it? Who's paying the notes on the sofa is the question. Because if it is community property, what would happen in a 50-50 split? It's not going to be like Medea, where you go in there with a chainsaw and cut everything in half. You might get it, and I get the difference in value. So if it's a $500 sofa, I might get $250. You might get the sofa, or you might get $250 and I get the sofa. If I bought the sofa and I want the sofa, you don't care about the sofa, but you want the entertainment system. I might get 100% of the sofa and you might get 100% of the entertainment system. The division of stuff is the division of stuff. It doesn't necessarily mean that half of everything is going to be divided up, but reasonably 50% of the stuff will be 50% of somebody else's stuff, unless you guys cannot work it out. You just sell everything, and then the monetary value that you guys keep, which usually happens from auctions and estate sales, then y'all split the money. But that means that the man has to start over. I work a real job. She's just a sandwich artist. Largely, what's your offer? 7,000. I tell you, it's a real nice couch. $7,000 for a nice couch. They really going in. Okay, so oh boy. It's okay, got it on sale at the rooms. Ah, that's funny. That's funny. That's truly funny. Uh so moving on. Uh Men may receive spousal support depending on the circumstances, and that usually only happens if the female spouse is making more money than the man spouse. And since that rarely does happen, you rarely see that uh men are being paid alimony. But in modern times, with more successful women being with men, whether she was successful before she got with him, or more successful after the fact, either way it goes, if she's got more money during the divorce, then these two going in on the comment section real quick. But because he's talking about he gotta get out of the house. Sorry for distracting you. It's all right, bro. It's all right. It's all right. No worries. No worries. You trying to get rid of the couch before she better call Tyrone. Got to do what you got to do. But um uh the division of law still dictates that because there's a divide there, that she's now required in modern times to pay out because she's got more resources than him. But traditionally, when a divorce first happens, you come to find out usually the man is stuck until all the financial assets are reassessed. When they're reassessed, that's when they come to find out, and that's usually a situation where the woman got greedy and she's trying to get child support, but the man's got the children. The judge starts looking at people's money and he's like, wait, he's giving you all this money and he's taking care of his kid, and wait, you're making more money than him also. That's when you start seeing that, oh, they're going to be like, oh no, ma'am, you got to pay him. You got to pay him. So that's starting to become a thing. But the bias is traditionally is that the women would normally receive, because historically, way back in the day, the women were getting from the marriage, because they would lose a lot more than the man would lose financially, because the man is paying for more than half of her standard of living. So when his income is taken out of her overhead, her overhead starts exceeding her standard of living, because when women date men that are better than her, which means that since he's better than her financially, that if she's living at his standard of living, if he takes his money away, she can't afford to live at his level. So to keep her at his level, he has to pay her alimony. That's where the history came from about that. Now, you're looking at people who are usually at similar standpoints. They have certain factors that play, but alimony is usually extended for the length of the marriage, and the recipients financial needs are usually compensated for, which is usually the mortgage on the house that the woman's going to get. That's usually the like I said before, the child support and other stuff like that. Anything that the kids might need in addition to transportation, stuff to that effect. If the kids got to go to the doctor and stuff, health insurance, that's usually going to be paid for by the person who's paying the alimony. So you don't have to pay for that stuff. Now, when you're negotiating a lot of these things in mediation, the negotiations can lead to more favorable outcomes for both sides, where I'm willing to sacrifice stuff that I don't really care anything about to get stuff that I really want. You can get say, fine, you can have the dog. I don't like the dog anyway. He chews up my clothes, stuff like that. And you get the stuff that you want and get rid of the stuff that you don't want. And you guys can kind of part ways and be in a better position where you're not actually in a compromising situation on a regular basis, which actually gives you a larger success rate in your separation of one another. But if you had a contract from the dating phase and a dating phase turned into a promotional phase for the wedding, where you're like in the finance level and you're like, look, we got this paperwork here. According to this paperwork, you have all authority over this, this, and this, and you don't have authority over anything else, you guys will be set. But if you follow my lead, like I told you before, and I said, just instead of getting her an expensive ass ring, get her a cheap one if you're gonna get one, because of symbolism. You don't have to buy a billionaire ring. You just get her a little something with maybe three or four stones. Women don't feel good about this while I'm talking about it right now, but on the back end of this, they're gonna be like, hell yeah. And then instead of wasting all this hundreds of thousands of dollars on a wedding where you're paying $100 grand for a party, $200-300 grand for a party, take all that money, put it into a stock, put that stock into a trust, make her the only beneficiary of that trust, and have a contract that says upon termination of this marriage, all she gets is that. You put $100 grand somewhere, or $300 grand somewhere, and let that get 20 to 30% interest, residual interest over the lifetime of whatever marriage that you got. And when we separate, you're going to keep all of that and I keep everything else. Ain't nobody complaining about that, because you throw up $100 grand, 300 grand, where you're getting paid almost 60 grand a year of interest on that money. In 10 years, you done made what, 600 grand, 2 million, 3 million additional to the original installment, which means that you really rolling in it right now. It's not one of them situations where you're looking at oh, it's not as good as having a lavish wedding. But I asked a woman one time, and she showed her financial wows, because I asked her straight up, which is different from the would you take a Bitcoin or $100 right now? And the women would always say $100. And the man would get frustrated because he's like, bro, you don't even know how much a Bitcoin is worth right now. And right now it's like 60 grand. So would you take a Bitcoin that's worth 60 grand, or would you take $100? I would always take a Bitcoin, because at its cheapest, a Bitcoin is worth more than $100 bill on any given day, because the US dollar is backed by faith. It's not backed by actual currency. So let's just be honest. You burn that $100 bill and you just out $100 bill, but you cash out on that Bitcoin stock and you got more than $100 on your bank account. Let's just be honest. Now, let's ask this question. I ask a lot of ladies, and you guys could tell me what y'all think about this. When I say, okay, are you preferring the large grandstand wedding that's like $100,000, $200,000 wedding, $50,000 wedding ring, or would you prefer $300,000 worth of stock instead? So the value of the wedding put into stocks, bonds, and real estate, and Bitcoin, versus the expensive wedding. Which one would you prefer? Knowing that the assets obtained would generate cash value of upward of $5,000 a month worth of spending money that you wouldn't have to work for, versus a wedding that you would waste that money one time, have one good party, and after that you got to grind to make up for the money that you wasted. Which one would you prefer? As a man, I'm going to tell you, I would prefer to put the money somewhere where the money's making a large quantity of money for me, so that if in the event bad things start happening, I got all this money over here that I could do stuff with, as opposed to being in a situation where, I'm going to waste all this money on something, and now I got to put in so much more effort to make that much money back before I can invest it and go do something with it, so that when you divorce me, you could take half of that. That makes no sense to me. But Some women are saying, I want the big wedding over the wedding going into a trust, the value of the wedding going into a trust, and I'm the only beneficiary of that particular trust. I'm like, can't see myself kicking it with somebody who will take spending money over making money. I can't do that. Uh, but when we started talking about the quantity of people who receive alimony back in 2010, approximately 3% of all divorces left men with money, which is somewhere around 12,000 men out of the 155 million men in the United States. About 12,000 men received alimony from divorces in 2010. Now, it has substantially increased in some times, but you're looking at a survey that has shown that nearly 47% of family law attorneys observe an increase in women's paying alimony to ex-husbands, which is reflected in the border trend where traditional gender roles are being challenged. So in 2024, we're probably going to see more than 3%, but this is going to come from women that actually have money, because again, the gender rules are not, it used to be just, well, the woman gets the money because the woman doesn't have any money, but the law wasn't written based on gender. The law was based on the distribution of assets versus the gains of assets versus the lack of accessibility to resources after the marriage. So back in the historic days, they have this landmark ruling, or versus or, in 1979. Look at how long ago that was, 1979, that established that men also have the right to receive alimony, ensuring that spousal support is not gender specific. So all those many years ago, but women always marry men with money, not the men that make the same amount of money as them. And women usually consider men that don't make as much money as them broke, which is one of the reasons why women have a harder time finding a partner the more financially successful she becomes, because 73% of men make less than $100,000 a year. So the higher she goes up that corporate ladder, the less men that she values, because there's less men that make more money than her. If she's making 100,000, he's got to make 150,000. If there's 20% or less than of men that make 150,000, she's got slim pickings. But 155 million women are after that 23% of men, whereas 73% of men have to take all the broke women. So no, the 73% of men that are making under $100,000 do not have the desire to chase after a woman's wealth. So you're not going to see 155,000 men chasing the top 1% of women. They're only going to be chasing after physical appearance and positive attitudes, and in modern times, cooperative behavior, where she's aiding the man in the man's success, not just twiddling her thumbs and just sitting on a couch like Peggy Bundy and not contributing to the success of the relationship. So while we have in 2024 some men that expect, I know a buddy right now that's Mr. 50-50 that would prefer for his girl to pay into the relationship and at least go half. And that is going to lead to a definite division of 50-50, regardless of what kind of prenup you got going on. Because if I paid into the pot, I want my share. You know what I'm saying? All day, every day. If she paid into the pot, she's going to feel the same way. She's going to be like, wait, I cashed out on half of this. You got that car because I put half the down payment down. I'm paying half the notes on the house. Like, all this stuff is half mine because I'm paying for it. And rightfully so. But that also causes a breakdown, because women are not selecting men to be leaders anymore. Women are selecting men for the financial contribution. So they're not actually picking men that are financially responsible. They're not picking men that prioritize her best interests. They're picking men that have money. And then the problem is that because you're picking men that have money, you're not necessarily getting a man that actually can do well with money, but he might still do more successfully positive transactions than the female that is getting her hair and nails did, because the $2,000 a month that you're spending on hair and nails. I already told y'all quite a few times over the past 6 months that there's over 8,000 financial institutions in America. Half of them are credit unions. You could put $200, $200 to $500 in a credit union, and you can open 4,000 credit unions if you want to. You can open 4,000 bank accounts if you want to, and each one of those bank accounts protect that account up to $250,000 per account. And each one of them accounts, if you're doing checking accounts, not savings accounts, checking accounts, they're up to right now 5% interest for guaranteed 5% interest, regardless of inflation, for the bank accounts, and up to 7.5% interest on the credit unions. And y'all could be making 5 to 7% interest on putting your money aside instead of wasting it on hair and nails. Go natural. Instead of saying I'm beautiful, I'm a 10 because I put $2,500 worth of makeup on, fake hair, fake chest, girder belt, push-up bra, butt lifters, thigh implants, tummy tuck, with all this other thing, waist trainer. You don't spend all this money to 6-inch stilettos, all this money that you wasted on looking different so that you can attract a man that isn't attracted to you because he's attracted to the way you made yourself look. He's not attracted to what you look like when you come out of that, because if you are 5'7" with 6-inch heels on, you're really 5'1". So when you come out of them Bigfoot shoes and drop half a foot, you're if he wanted a woman that was closer to his height, you just drop down 6 inches. That's not cool. Women say, I like a tall man. I want a man that's 6'4", 6'5". Well, if you are 4'11", you're not supposed to put in 6-inch stilettos. And if your head is next to his Johnson, then you're not tall enough. You should really and truly, historically speaking, if the top of your head is below his chin, you're starting to get too short. the whole like look up to him scenario, that it only goes so far. When your head is below his belly button, he's too tall. So you don't need to put on stilettos though to be up to his belly button. That makes no sense. Talking about something you want a tall man, that doesn't make sense. And then the other thing is that if you want to be accepted for who you are, why are you spending thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars to look the level of attraction you think a man wants, with the exception of the fake nails, because that's just a crow syndrome. You really don't do that to attract a man. You just do that to attract yourself. You like long fingernails. Men don't like long fingernails. They're not practical. You can't even text. You can't type. You can barely drive. You can barely drive with the fingernails. It's not effective. But the rosy red cheeks emphasize fertility. The smooth skin emphasizes fertility. The long eyelashes emphasizes fertility. Long hair emphasizes fertility. Large chest emphasizes fertility. Wide hips emphasizes fertility. The little V-cut diamond shape, the little star thing that you got there emphasizes fertility. And y'all work your way into personifying yourselves as being excessively fertile, which attracts men. That's a subconscious primal instinct that you're attracting. And then you get that sexual attention from a man, and that now you got him on the hook. Where the manipulation comes from, he must do a certain quantity of stuff in order to have sex with you. But the downside to that scenario is that while he's doing a certain quantity of stuff in order to have sex with you, he's paying for your time. You're not getting this guy because he treats you nice. You're not getting this guy because he's always there when you need help. You're not getting this guy, and it's not financial help. It's like you needed to pick up this box, you needed to move this couch, you needed somebody to come and protect you in the alleyway like Batman. He swooped in like Spider-Man and saved the day one day. Your car broke down and he had that. Like he actually was helpful. He pays attention to your needs. Like when you bend over to go pick something up, he puts his hand over the table to keep you from knocking yourself out. He knows that you need to wipe your face. He's handing you a napkin. He knows that your hands are dirty. Instead of you wiping it on your clothes, he's getting you something to clean your hands with. He doesn't let you walk in a water puddle and get your feet wet. He carry you when you break a heel. He carry you when your feet hurt. He carry you when you're sleepy. He don't let you pass out in public. He don't let nobody disrespect you. You're looking for a man that does all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? You're not looking for a man that just he gonna pay for dinner and you and your friend because he's a man. That's not what you're looking for. A paymaster. You're looking for a walking ATM machine. You're looking for a male stock option that is going to pay you dividends without you ever putting any money down on the stock option. That makes absolutely no sense. But when we're talking about our divorce, when we're talking about the changes and misrepresentations of divorce, we're looking at a completely different scenario, because once you get with this person, And I've been telling men for the longest period of time, we have to change the way we look at this, because we go into this relationship financially investing into figuring out who she is and figuring out if we like her, and then financially investing in the dating phase to keep her long enough to financially invest in the marriage, where we have to have a extravagant enough proposal to convince her to want to marry us, and then we have to have this extravagant wedding to keep her in the marriage. And then after we have that extravagant wedding, then we're supposed to waste even more money taking care of her for the rest of our life. At no point from the time we get the first name till the time we breathe our last breath is the female required to pay for the man. Now, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, if something happens to the man and he no longer can do it, good wives will start doing it. But if the man always got it the whole marriage up to the divorce, he got it. He's going to pay for everything if he can. And then after the divorce, he's going to keep paying her after the divorce. So for the rest of his life after his divorce, he's paying for this other woman's standard of living. It makes no sense. That's why I say we got to start paying attention to things. So when we were talking about the divorce rate, and we're like, look, 12,000 men get alimony. The rest of the divorces are women getting the money. It is not beneficial, guys. You can't be paying into the first date. You got to find out if she's even worth spending money on. You got to hang out with her somewhere free. Y'all better be sipping on ice water at the park talking about some mama push you on a swing. Let's take this all the way back to the old school. It shouldn't be a $300 first date. And some women are going to say, he ain't never going to find no woman. No, men are going to save up money because they're not wasting money on women. I'm about to get on that part real soon, because they're not wasting the money on women. And if they can't find a woman that respects them in America, they're going to hop on a plane and go to another country where the women ain't got no problem with catering to the man's every will. Because it's not saying that women are not going to be as equally greedy in another country as they are in America. It's just that the women in America has been spoiled to the expectation that a man is going to give her whatever she wants without her having to do anything about it. In other countries, the women are taught that you got to do whatever the man wants, and then he's going to take care of you and your family. So these women have the ideology that I'm going to go get me a rich American man, but I'm going to cater to his every need. The trade-off is the man still got to pay for the woman, sometimes even a woman's family, but the man still get a woman that's going to do everything that he needs her to do, which is something that a man's not going to get in America, because a woman got wants. I don't want to do that. I don't need to do that. You got to marry me in order for me to do that. Then when you marry her, she ain't going to do it. Well, I wasn't doing it before the marriage. You're never going to get that woman to do whatever it is that she's not doing before the marriage. You're never going to get that. She's not going to transform like a Pokemon and go from being a basic chick to a housewife. It's not going to happen. If she's a basic chick when you're with her, she's going to be a basic wife when you get her. You know, you don't make wives, you marry them. So if she was wife material when you married her, she's going to be doing wifely duties when you marry her. If she's not doing wifely duties before you married her, you bought a lemon and you're still financing it for absolutely no reason. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you ain't willing to invest in, in a broke car, you don't want to invest in a non-functioning wife. You don't want to do that stuff. But when we start talking about the framework of the gender neutral thing, the alimony scale starts shifting, and we have settlements nowadays where the alimony has decreased, and it's gone down to about 25% since 1962. Now it's 10% today. So could you imagine back in the day when alimony was 25% of your income? If I was making $100,000, I would have to give my ex-wife $25,000. Bro, I ain't got that kind of money. Your boy. I seen it earlier this year. Your boy got the divorce. She divorced him, so he quit his job and got him a base rate job that made him take a $15,000 pay cut just so that he wouldn't financially be able to qualify to give her any money. I see. Yep, that's exactly some shit I would do. Or work under the table and not claim no money and not file no taxes. One or the other. I'd be too broke. I can't afford nothing. Well, how was you paying for something? Bigot. I ain't got no money. I ain't trying to pay for shit. Because what if you didn't want me when I was paying for you? Why are you trying to take money from me and you don't want me no more? And females typically walk out of the relationship long before they actually lead a person. They done mentally left first. They done emotionally found somebody else second. Now they treating you bad third. And if they can't convince you to walk out on her by mistreating you for an extended period of time, you're going to have some of them that will start an argument so that that argument be the reason why y'all broke up. And some kind of way that argument is going to be your fault. I'm not saying that only women do this, men do this too, but I'm just saying that when a man that is dedicated to a woman ends up in a situation where she left, that relationship was rocky for a year, 2 years before she left. She was done probably 6 months into the relationship, and a year and a half passed by. She still didn't see what she was looking for without putting any extra effort into it. Relationship don't last 2 years, 9 months. That is the statistical average, believe it or not. But here goes those financial impacts, which is one of the reasons why women used to get alimony. Women typically see their household income significantly shift in a negative fashion after divorce. And the research has indicated that women's incomes can decrease. And this is all of the money that her household income gets. That's including the man's money. That's including the money that he gives her. Her income decreases between 33 to 41%. Because that's the portion of her expenses that he paid for. So her standard of living is now going to take a 33 to 41% dip, whereas a man's income tends to drop around 18 to 23%, whereas her contributions to him might be 18 to 23%. So one study found that a woman's household income fell by 41% after divorce, while the man also lost only 23%, specifically the same marriage. And that's going to leave the woman's standard of living to plummet because half her money is gone because she divorced him. That's usually why the woman gets alimony. Because if you grew up in the projects, now y'all living in the suburbs, and y'all living in the suburbs off of his income, you cannot live a suburban lifestyle with half of the income that it took for you to live in that suburban lifestyle. You lose half that income, you're going to have to go back to the hood. So to keep from going back to the hood, you got to get that alimony money. Now, the standard of living, women are going to experience more of a substantial decline in their standard of living because of this. You're looking at one study actually showed 45% decline in a woman's standard of living compared to the man's 21% decline for the standard of living in the same marriage. And this is going to be this level of disparity is going to be long-term economic challenges that the woman is going to face after the marital separation. So it's not something that's going to happen and then be rectified in a short period of time. Also, you're looking at the poverty rate. Most women are broke. The successful alpha boss ladies that I high five on a regular basis that I say y'all need to start dating down so that y'all can kind of balance the gap between successful people and teaching their children how to be successful versus only getting more successful men, no matter how successful she is. Y'all successful women, y'all aren't broke. But again, you're looking at 99% of the population is not rich, and you're looking at more than 73% of men, which is likely going to be somewhat similar. 73% of women, or more than 73% of women, that are not making over $100,000 a year. You don't have a large population of women of any race making over $100,000 a year. You don't have that many Americans making over $100,000 a year. That's why you're looking at 99% of Americans in the broke category of the $15,000 tax bracket that Project 2025 is about to throw out. And then you're looking at the other factors that people don't really pay attention to is the fact that men typically get more dangerous jobs. They work long hours. They get more physically strenuous jobs, and those jobs pay more money. Outside of tech jobs, those jobs pay more money, and you don't see as many women choosing to go into those fields. So women typically choose jobs that make less money because women use their minds, not their physical strength, to get money. And that's not talking about the OnlyFans chicks who sell their bodies to make money, because they're making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year, $1 million a year. But the women who are actually smart, doctors, lawyers, nurses, bus drivers, managers, librarians, all of that stuff, nutritionists, health and fitness instructors, life coaches, therapists, they're not making $100,000 a year. They're making like $50,000 a year. You know, men in construction are making $100,000 a year. Garbage truck drivers, $120,000 a year. They're making money. Working at a Waffle House, you make $78,000 a year. They're making money. But more often than not, women are making like the women in the medical field are making less money than the men in the restaurant field. So your bartender or your waiter might be making more money than you. So while we got some people that like to be a little bit snooty when they talking to the person that's cashing them out, it don't matter what company they're working for. If you walk up to that cash register, they're probably driving a better car than you because they got it like that. And then also you have the other thing that there's also that other expectation where some people will drive a hoopty that is covered in duct tape with 150,000 miles on it because they own it. They don't got to pay no notes on it. It's cheap. It's reasonable on gas, and they're saving money on keeping that and maintaining it than it would be to spend $125,000 for a $79,000 Cybertruck that doesn't have 80% of the features that they said that they was going to have in the demo. I keep going in on that. So when we're talking about the women being negatively impacted by the loss of divorce, which is why they end up with the alimony, women are more likely to have poverty experiences, and studies showed that separated women are 3 times more likely to fall into poverty compared to separated men. This is going to be because men no longer have the financial responsibility to pay for the entertainment of women. Men are then going to take that money and reinvest it in themselves and reinvest it in their stocks, bonds, and everything like that so that they can build themselves up financially. And then those men are going to have way more money than what they would have had when they were in a relationship paying for an extra person's entertainment. So that's going to be another thing that we're going to be looking at. Women, on the other hand, are not going to have that. They don't pay what they don't pay. And now that they got more expenses, now they got to focus all of their money on catching up on bills and stuff. They're not trying to build any wealth. They're not trying to build any savings. Very few have savings. And those who have savings are actually putting it in a savings account and holding it, not really investing it into high interest anything, anywhere. And that's one of the issues that you have. So when you're looking at wealth disparities after divorce, men generally hold significantly more wealth than women because men don't spend money. And reports indicate that men hold about 2.5 times the amount of wealth that women do following a divorce. And this wealth gap can have lasting implications for women's financial stability because y'all spend money on stuff that y'all don't need to spend money on. I'm going to be honest with you. Instead of you getting the Brazilian weave, why don't you go like Eve? Why don't you just go ahead and do the ball fade and just be a sexy, strong, independent woman with a low cut fade or something like that? Why do you got to have Pocahontas hair going down your back that costs $600 every 6 weeks? Why can't you just go natural? Y'all think men want BBLs. We don't want BBLs. We want natural. You want us to love you for who you are as is, flaws and all. So why don't you save some money and come out looking busted? If I take you looking busted, you ain't got to spend all that money looking attractive now, do you? Answer me that now. If I take you looking busted, then you good. You don't got to spend all this extra money looking pretty. Oh, you can't see me without your makeup on. And it take you an hour and 45 minutes to put your makeup on. Look, you tripping. You're not asking me to take you for how you are. You're asking me to take your bad attitude for what it is, and then you're going to pretend like you're somebody that you're not so that I could be attracted to you. Now, we don't talk about this on the show a lot of the times, but the intimacy in relationships does change due to the lack of desire between the partners. And that's going to largely come from the fact that who you are when he met you is not who you are. And he fell for the way you looked when you put on your clown costume. And that's what he was attracted to. Then when you take that clown costume off, that is not what he's attracted to. He has to like the personality of the non-clown costume until the clown costume comes back on in the morning. Now, that lack of desire is going to depreciate the drive, and that's going to depreciate the quantity of intimacy. And that does actually contribute towards some cheating where he might leave you for a chick that has all of the same features you glued to your face as natural features. And you're going to be sitting there like, well, what does she got that I got? No glue on her head. That's the first thing she got going on. Nothing stitched into her scalp. That's the second thing she's got going on. You know, you don't got to peel your eyes off. That's the third thing she got that you don't got going on. You don't got to suck nothing in. You see what I'm saying? That's the fourth thing that she got going on. You don't have surgical scars that have nothing to do with birth just so that you could get cut into your stomach a six-pack. She don't got that. See what I'm saying? These are the things that y'all don't really pay attention to that. Men aren't looking for a perfect 10. Men are looking for a 7 or an 8 that's going to cooperate with them. Men are looking for a 5 or a 6 that's going to help them grow and be financially successful. Men are not looking for a 10, a perfect 10 every time. Men are not looking for a Miss America every time. Notice the baby mamas be looking like train wrecks. They be looking like Tina right after she got by Ike. They not really looking for, they looking for one that's going to cooperate. They looking at anime before she became Tina. That's what they looking for. They're looking for the one that ain't got destroyed by society yet. They're not looking for. That's why women get mad when they say, oh, well, why you always going after the younger chick? Because she hasn't been psychologically traumatized yet. That's why. But where are we at right now? Oh, I think I done crushed all of the information on that. The situation with women can financially improve after the divorce, but that usually happens after repartnering because she's going to get her wealth from a dude, that another dude. So a woman that's a divorcee, typically a red flag for a man, because she wasn't satisfied with the first man. So why would she be satisfied with the second man? And then if she's third time divorced, you got that issue where she might not be satisfied with the third or the fourth man. And you're looking at each time she's still getting alimony because they don't calculate her revenue received. They calculate her actual going out and making money. So typically they're not going to say, well, you're getting alimony from 3 other men that you don't deserve to get alimony from the fourth man. They're going to say, well, no, he's still got to give a percentage of his income to you. So just like there are some, not all women, but there are some that will have 5 different baby daddies and get 5 different child support checks and get 5 different alimony checks and make a living off of having children. We also got OnlyFans girls that make a living off of meeting the desires of men that are not getting the attention that they need from their woman. Even if they're not single men, they got some married men and some men in relationships that talk to women online because they're not getting the emotional attention that they're supposed to be getting from their partner. Women don't pay attention to that. Women believe that, oh, men are just dogs. Well, I said before, the monogamy standpoint benefits the woman because all of his assets go to her in case of his demise. But under the expectations that he is not supposed to have any other partners besides her, whenever he desires intimacy, she is supposed to provide it. If she is going to have the shop closed 4 out of 5 weeks in the month, when there's typically 4 weeks in a month, then you are asking him to go and get what he needs from somewhere else. Look at it like this, ladies. For those of y'all that tell me that that's wrong for men to have that mentality, you would not work for your job for 4 weeks out of the month, and they're only going to pay you for 1 week. You feel me? You're only getting a check one time, and they're not getting a check for the whole month. You're only getting a check for the 7 days. You're not going to do it. You're not going to say, nah, man, I'm not putting in 30 days and I'm only getting 7 days of pay. But when you emotionally deprive a man, you're telling this man that he is not entitled to the affection that you are supposed to give him, but he is obligated to compensate you for your standard of living, your entertainment. When women say, I want to go shopping, that means she wants to spend his money. That doesn't mean ride with me in my car and I will buy me stuff and I'll buy you stuff too. That doesn't mean that I'll put gas in your car and you drive me to the store and I'll buy my own stuff. What that means is you're going to put gas in your own car. You're going to take me to the store and then you're going to spend your money on me. That when she says, I want to go shopping, that means she wants him to spend money because she wants to go shopping. Now, a man can't say, I want to get laid, and then she be like, come on, let's go ahead and make it do what it do. I got a headache, my back hurt, I'm tired, it's that week, all of these excuses, I got to work in the morning. But if a man say, I'm not going to pay you today, I'm not going to give you any money, I'm not going to do this, that, and the third, then she's going to get mad. And the excuse is, it's my body, I can do what I want with it. Fair. But it's his resources. He should be able to have the same ability to say, you don't get any money this month. None of your bills are going to get paid this month. And women are not going to find the dynamic to be mutually the same. They're going to say that's not the same. How is it not the same? How is it not the same if you're in a position where you are supposed to love and care for your man? You are supposed to provide a tangible or non-tangible effort into your relationship to make your relationship successful, which means that you're going to be keeping him stable, mentally and emotionally, keeping him prepared physically, and then he's going to bring the money back for you. If you're not doing anything for his betterment, that's why we got dishwashers, because women aren't doing that no more. We got microwaves because women aren't doing that no more. We got Rombas and stuff, Shark vacuum cleaners, because women aren't doing that no more. We've got washers and dryers that do permanent press and steam clean and everything like that, because women aren't doing that anymore. And then we've got AI systems that's keeping track of all of our business, because women aren't doing that anymore. We've got automatic bill pay. We got automation, where back in the day, back in the 60s, a man would go to work, bring his whole paycheck back, give it to his woman, and as long as the bills was paid, he didn't ask no money. He kept a little bit of change in his pocket for spending money, to buy himself something when he's out, or to get something that he needed. He would go and report to her that he wanted to buy something, and she would tell him if there was enough money there to buy. Back in the day when women were responsible. Now you give a woman $1,000, she'll do everything but invest it, and whatever she's spending money on got nothing to do with him. And he's still got to pay all the bills. It's the man's responsibility to make sure that the bills get paid. The dynamic has shifted so much that all she's doing is smiling with the man and maybe sleeping with the man. And then the man is now in a position to rent that behavior for an extended period of time. So one of our fans had jumped on the show and said, show me what the divorce rate look like. Show me what the divorce rate is with men getting money and alimony and stuff to that effect. Now, I didn't show you. You can't say that I didn't talk to you about it. The same way we had another woman come up here and tell us, oh, women don't date older men, that they stop at like 5 or 10 years older. I put it up there. I showed you that these women at 18 years old is dating men 60 years older than them. So that means he's 78 and she's 18. That they're 22 and he's 65. They're 25 and he's 49. These women is getting older men, but they're not getting older men because they're older. They're getting older men because men do not become financially stable until they're in their 50s. They typically don't realize that they need to get their shit together until they're in their 40s, and then it takes them 10 or 15 years for them to get their money right, and then they're in their 50s or 60s. Now they're financially stable. A young woman wants a financially stable man, and an older woman wants a man with more stamina. So the older women date younger men to get that drive. The younger women date the older men to get the responsibility. The older women want a man with good credit and a good financial background and all this, that, and the third. But baby, just like the fact that you got to get on this waiting list for Cybertruck since 2019 and still pay $125,000 when they originally offered it to you for under 80 grand, you still got to qualify to get it. Once they make it there, once they meet your expectations, you still got to qualify for him. And that's the one dynamic that we haven't gotten in 2024, where women don't understand that you don't qualify for the man because you're not bringing nothing to the table. And when a man, I had a woman just not too recently, when I said, I'm looking for an obedient and submissive woman, and I'm looking for one that's dedicated. I'm looking for one that's loyal. I'm looking for one that's going to aid me in my success with my agenda, where my agenda includes her agenda. Now, you're included in this. You're going to get what you need out of this situation. We're going to work towards the top. She starts making demands. Well, hold on. If we're in a situation where you're supposed to be submissive and obedient, why are you making me prove myself to you? You're supposed to be adhering to my expectations first, and then I'm supposed to see if what you're looking for is fitting inside of what we got going on. If I got to prove myself to you, then you're not submitting to me. I'm submitting to you. I'm not trying to prove myself to you. My royalties, such as they are, become yours because of your affiliation with me. If my royalties, if my assets and resources become yours, the way women say that the house and the car and everything is hers because she's sleeping with the guy who owns it, you got to earn that spot. You can't get a man with 3 businesses and 4 different sides of the planet and say that oh, you picked him up at a traffic light one day and now all of a sudden you're a millionaire. Then here's another thing. Most of us don't even know how to invest, save, and spend and build up generational wealth. One of the reasons why we struggle, which is the reason why the U.S. Census right now, February 14, 2024, was talking about how a 2-party income is $72,000 a year. So 2 people put their money together, and the average American median income is making $72,000 a year. So one of y'all is making 40, and the other one's making 32. So where can you rationalize saying, I want $100,000 from him, regardless of how much money I make? Because now you're asking him to bring in 3 times more than you, which means that he's going to be investing 3 times more than you if y'all go 50-50, because he's going to put in 3 times more of his resources to cover 75% of the bills. You're going to cover 25% of the bills, which makes a lot of sense, because in the divorce, the man's going to take what? A 23 or 21% dip. Why? Because that's how much she contributed to the marriage. 18 to 23%. She's going to take a 50% dip, 44% dip. Why is she taking a 44% dip? Because that's how much he contributed to her marriage. If a woman was going 50-50 with a man, when a divorce happened, they should both have a 50% dip, because she's losing out on what he was investing on her, and he's losing out on what she was investing on him. But she's losing out on almost half, because he was paying all of his and half of hers, and he's losing out on a quarter, because sometimes she caught a quarter of the shit that he didn't get when he ran out of money. So for those egalitarian, fictitious, feminist women that come out there talking about let's do 50-50, show me 50-50, because a divorce rate ain't even showing 50-50. When it comes down to the division of resources and the loss of income received, you don't even look, because it's not like you lost your job and you lost 40% of your income. Your household income is the combined quantity of income that you and your husband or you and your wife make. And when you separate, his half of the income comes out of your budget. Her half of the income comes out of his budget. So if he's only losing 18 to 21, 18 to 23%, that's all she's kicking out to the marriage. If she's losing 44%, that's what he was kicking out to the marriage. For them to go half, 50-50 split, 45-23. That's the 50-50 split. Now, when I tell y'all to make it make sense, y'all got to make it make sense, because that's what we're looking at right now. We're looking at the division of resources is not the same. It is not what we had expected it to be. And that's why men get frustrated. And that's why men have higher expectations. And that's why men were doing a soft guy era 2024 drizzle. That's why men were saying women got to show, what do you bring to the table? And when you ask that question, if you ask any man, what do you bring to the table? First thing he's going to say, well, I got X, Y, and Z company. I got X, Y, and Z job. I've got this house, this stock, this real estate, this many cars. I'm bringing health insurance. I'll get you health insurance. I'm taking extra money and giving you vacations. I'm buying you lavish gifts. I'm taking you out to dinner. I'm all of this stuff that the man is bringing to the table. And the woman is going to expect the man to be submissive to sex. So in order for him to sleep with her, he has to do what he's told. So now he has to surrender authority over his resources so that she can sleep with him. She's going to be verbally and emotionally abusive, grabbing them all by the neck and hitting them and everything like that. Notice, ladies, whenever y'all get mad, notice y'all hit men, y'all slap men, y'all throw stuff at men, y'all throw stuff on men, whether you're embarrassed, whether you're upset, whether you're frustrated, whether you're afraid, y'all attack men. Men cannot put their hands on y'all the way y'all put y'all hands on men. And man is supposed to take all of that abuse and still pay for your standard of living. That's what he's bringing to the table. Now, I'm going to pause for a second, and I'm going to let y'all jump into these comments and tell me exactly what, besides sex and a smile, do you bring to the table? Because what you're not going to do happens more often than not. So what, besides sex, do you bring to the table? Because women say they're not going to cook until they get married. So if you're not cooking, you're not doing my laundry, you don't want to do household chores because you're an alpha boss lady, you go to work and everything, I got to hire a maid and I got to hire a babysitter, you're not doing none of that stuff. What are you bringing to the table? Because your money don't matter. Because you're spending my money in our relationship, so what are you bringing to the table? And when we leave this question as an open-ended question and waiting on women to jump in, I've been waiting on women to jump in and answer that question. One woman said it's 9 months ago, emotional support, which is a big deal, but that's really like the only thing. But keep in mind that emotional support is limited. The emotional support is conditional. The man's financial responsibility to the woman is unconditional. The man's responsibility to protect her is unconditional. If he does not fund her standard of living, he is not considered a man. She starts calling him a boy. She starts calling him outside of a man. She starts challenging his gender, his masculinity. You know, if he doesn't protect her, she's calling him a coward. She's calling him every variation of a coward. You know, but women don't have those expectations. If she does not provide, she doesn't have to because she's a female. But if he does not provide, he's worthless. But if she does not produce, she doesn't have to because she's not married. But then when she's married and she's still not producing, well, I wasn't doing it before I got married. Why do you expect me to do it now? When and where and what will you bring to the table? How small does a table have to be for you to fill it? And then I'm going to ask you again what it is that you plan on filling it with. So, I mean, we had a really good show today. I did this show. This is a short show in comparison to some shows, because some shows we doing 2 hours and 30 minutes, sometimes longer than that. We are live 7 nights a week, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific. Sometimes we start a little bit late due to the complications with the internet until we relocate to the larger facility where we have more internet streaming, where we'll be on time. So you're still going to get us around 8:15, 8:30 when we start, or 9:15, 9:30 when we start. But somewhere in that area, we're still going to run an hour-long podcast. And like I said, we're on 7 nights a week. We have relationship style topics on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We have the members only shows that is open to the public right now, where you guys can come in and we can do Q&As with some of the fans, react and respond to some of the comments that have come in through the comment section. And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we're talking about business, finance, health, and fitness. So there's a lot of different things that we deal with on those days. And then we have guests coming to the show in line with some of those topics. So our relationship coach, we're waiting on Sarah to contact us, and she's going to be in between Thursday and Sunday on one of these weeks. We're going to have Brett Owens come in with how to retire off of 8% dividends from stocks and bonds and real estate investment. Not real estate. He's working specifically with stocks and bonds and stuff like that, shares and stuff like that. He's going to be coming in on like a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, right after he finished with his son's Little League. We got a couple of other people that we're going to have in. We had, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, we had Joe come in as a CPA, a licensed CPA. He's been doing this for like 30 or 40 years. So we get a lot of people come in. And as we get them in, you guys will see that the calendar starts filling up for November. So make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Make sure that you guys check the membership. Try to jump into the membership, because when we get detailed information, we make that exclusive to the members. We start posting stuff up into the community forums. So I always encourage you guys to throw down on that. And while you guys are watching the show, if you ever want to throw us something that's a special thanks for the information, you like the entertainment, the laughs that we had, the conversations that we're going through, the research I did for you, whatever the case may be, y'all always have the opportunity for the special likes, the special thanks, the special emojis, and throw us a little something to the podcast to help steadfast the podcast. I know Bricko Mode was making it rain one day this past week, so I encourage you guys to always go ahead and throw down on us, because it helps us make the podcast bigger, because ain't nothing in this world is free. I know some people say, well, people, influencers and podcasters and stuff, they don't put in work. I can tell you right now, there's like 10 hours worth of video editing at minimum. You're looking at scheduling. You're looking at reformatting. You got to deal with internet systems. You got to deal with software. You got to upgrade your hardware. There's so many things going on. I mean, it's not like being a construction worker breaking bricks all day. And this isn't even the only thing that I do, because I also teach at the same time. So I got to teach throughout the day, and then I do the podcast throughout the night, and then I got to edit stuff. I got to do homework. I got to create classroom assignments. So, people who get up here and do these things, it is not easy. It's not just sitting in front of a camera and talking. There's so much stuff that happens behind the scenes to make sure that there's a show worth watching. There's so many changes that needs to be made to the podcast to make the podcast worth watching, so that you guys can sit here for an hour, 23 minutes and listen to somebody talk, if we don't have a group of people in here having an open discussion. And in the future, if you guys want to come in and have that open discussion with me, just remember that there is always a link in the comment section, like this one, that lets you guys know that if you click that link and you approve the mic and approve the camera, then you would be able to jump up into the green room. I'll be able to confirm you're over the age of 18, bring you up onto the show. So if I'm saying something you disagree with, you can jump in here and you can say what you got to say. But you have the opportunity to turn the camera off after I confirm that you're an adult, so that people don't see who you are. So if your hair ain't right, if your makeup ain't right, if you still got the mustache, you ain't did the wax yet, you don't want nobody to know it, somebody like it, but you don't want nobody to see that, you can kind of turn the mic off. If you're not dressed appropriately yet, and you know what I'm saying, you was in your bath towel and stuff, and you jumped up on the show and you wanted to say what you had to say, you could jump in there, turn your camera off, and then say what you got to say, and we can all hear what you got to say in real time. But just know that you live on a podcast, so it's limited to the kind of conversations that we can have up here. We can do a little bit of adult content, a little bit of fussing and cussing and stuff, but we can't drag this out like some of these folks be trying to do. There's some stuff that we just can't put on the air. So as long as you're appropriate with how you bringing your discontent, how you bringing your disagreement, by all means, jump up onto the podcast and disagree with me. I encourage you to disagree with me, because if you have a disagreement, we have a debate. And I'm a man of research. I went to one of the top 5 research schools in the country. All I know how to do is look stuff up. I look stuff up faster than GTP. I look stuff up faster than, what is that other one called? Proliferex. I'm over here just doing research on a regular basis. I went from being a pediatric surgeon to doing research so that I can help kids go to college and be better them. I'm talking about term papers and everything like that. So I mean, and information about that, got to join the membership. I can show you all about that stuff too. So if any event that you like what you see or you want more information, definitely hit the subscribe button. You can go through, hit the notification button on some of the shows that you like, so that you definitely don't miss those. But if you remember, every day of the week at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific, that we are going live on a podcast, you'll definitely be able to see something different just about every day of the week. And we definitely like to entertain. So I expect you guys to be here tomorrow night. So as I walk up out of here and leave y'all with the rest of whatever y'all got going on, since y'all decided to spend y'all time with me instead of watching football, and I greatly appreciate y'all for that. I want to go ahead and say thank you. Thank you very much first. But then I want to go ahead and say, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And fellas, hey, y'all on Twitch, y'all on TikTok, I appreciate y'all. Large Billy, thank you very much. I don't know why you had to pick a name like that. Dink AJ, I really appreciate you. You guys did a good job today. Omni89, I really appreciate your support. Red Void, I really appreciate your support as well. Thank you guys for coming to the podcast. And I'm your host, Xander, for This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between, which is why we have the conversations that we talk about, because we don't just talk about the topic of the day. We talk about this, that, and everything in between. So you dive in here with something a little bit different than what we was talking about, or if we segue into a side topic, a straw man topic, because you want to jump up here and talk about something a little bit different than what we talked about, guess what? We're going to talk about that too. Everything from how to make money to how to make a good relationship. We're going to talk about all of that stuff and everything in between. So with that being said, I appreciate y'all coming to the show, and I'm going to see y'all tomorrow night.